Alright, so a little bit of monkeying around off camera. We got the feeler gauges in there, very, very snug. So this camshaft was machined a lot tighter tolerance than the factory stock camshaft by the look of things. Those are 1.5 thousandths of an inch, 1.5 feeler gauges under each side, and the only way we could get them in was to start with the block out part way, squeeze them in, shove the block in, and then we just balance the camshaft until they're both about the same tension to try and twist them. So that part is all set and done. We don't have to worry about the cam anymore now. The sprocket should still be, so let's tension this up first so it'll hold for me. The sprocket should still be loose. Yep, this should be. And I was able to get the injection pump sprocket at least back to the way it was before. I'm not super happy with the position, but it matches up with where it was when I took it apart, so that's going to be as good as we can get. The tensioner finger is in the square hole. So, and I've tried to match up the running position of the belt on those two at least as best I can. I know the crank is out a little bit too far, but I can't push it in, and I don't want to use a screwdriver and risk damaging the belt. So we've got our injection pump sprocket cap screws still just a little bit loose. I did end up actually removing the sprocket to be able to turn it a tooth as opposed to messing with the tensioner again, which it worked okay. You just got to be careful that you get the sprocket back on the hub fully, and don't bend your timing pin tool in the process, because the belt is still pulling on you even though it's supposed to be loose. So now we just got to double check the crankshaft mark again, which I believe is a little bit too far past where we want it to be. Yeah, marginally, but I would definitely prefer that it was a little bit closer than that. So I'm going to back the whole engine up a bit and then bring it up one more time to a position that I'm happy with. So camshaft, I'm just going to double check that the tension of the feeler gauges front to back is fairly similar. So the front is definitely still a little bit more loose than the back. That's pretty good. Pretty darn close. Way closer than any shop would set it. So happy with that. Our crankshaft, check one more time here, but it should not have moved. Our crankshaft should be right on the mark. Looks pretty bang on to me. So, with that said now, I am going to double check what the book says, but we should be ready to tighten up the belt tensioner and remove the timing tools, and then we should be good to roll the engine around a couple of times. So we need a little bit of anti-seize on the stud for the tensioner nut. When I say a little bit, I mean a little bit. Whether I can get a little bit or not, that's a separate issue without getting it everywhere. Doesn't need to be gallons, and we definitely don't want it coming undone on its own. That would not be cool. I'm going to steal the washer and the nut from the other one, because you only get those originally. You don't get a new one when you get a new tensioner, which is kind of silly, but washer and nut, like so. Oh, I think these are some kind of a locking nut based on how stiff it is there. And let's use this. Try and get that up a heck of a lot closer before we do anything else. Should be 13. Let's do this. What I'll do is snug it actually, and then I'll back it off a little bit. It doesn't need to be very loose because you got a fairly large tool for adjusting it. So because of the camera angle, it's pretty hard to see, but what I showed before, the little block tab is right there on the outer part, and the little checkered zone, the X's and the notch are right about there on the inner part. And it's kind of backwards, but I believe how it works based on the spring is as we rotate that cam lobe clockwise, which is what it tells us to do, it's going to tension the belt, but the spring tension on that adjuster is going to go the opposite way, because right now the checkered zone is this side of the tab, and when we get done, it's going to be, when we get done, that's good English, when we're finished, it's going to be the other side, if anything. So I think what I'm going to do as far as belt alignment and potential stretching, whatever, is I'm going to go all the way up to the extreme tight end of the range now, because after we've rolled it around a couple times and the belt has found its center position, and after some mileage is put on it, it's going to become a little more slack than it was. Now the extra spring-loaded part of this tensioner is supposed to accommodate that, but I don't want it to be anywhere near loose enough that something could potentially slip or cause a problem. That would be really bad. So I'll get my tensioner tool again here, and I think I gotta use a combination wrench to be able to snug the tensioner, because you can't get, I don't think you can get a socket or anything on there while you're trying to hold the tensioner as well, the adjustment tool. All right, so I'll put this in on the bottom side. And about there. Didn't think that was too tight, but maybe it is. Yeah, okay. That's better. Okay. So, there, finally. I don't know if the camera, hopefully the camera caught that. You watch the block on the outside finally slip. There it goes again. So now we're coming up, we're coming up, we're coming up. It's really hard to see the, this tool is terrible. We're gonna lose the pins in a minute here. Maybe we better, maybe better trade it up. If I can make the other one work. I think the problem I was having with the other one before is the pins are too far offset, so I don't think I'm going to be able to use that one. But this roll pin one is terrible. But hopefully we can get close enough to where we're going here to be able to make it work. Okay. Let's get this in here again. There we go. And actually, the further you can push it in, the easier it'll be for it to not bend. All right. Let's see if we can bring this around here without it snapping and hitting me in the face. Would be ideal. Okay, so the block is at the lower end of the checker right now, so I'm going to try and bring it around until it's kind of lined up with the notch if I can. Maybe a little bit shy of that. Like I said, I don't want it to become loose. That is a definite. So that's kind of, again, I'm not looking at it straight on, but and this is where my dad would have a mirror set up. But I believe I've got it so that little block on the outer part is half on the notch and half on the last X of the checkered zone, which is probably quite good for adjustment. Let's see if I can snug this up without dropping the wrench would be ideal. That should be more than enough to hold it so that I can use the torque wrench. Get off me, bugs. For the timing belt tensioner, 15 foot-pounds, so that's our 180 inch-pounds once again. So yeah, it's basically exactly like I thought it was. I've got that extruded block halfway across the last X and the notch. Now, again, I wish the manual would actually show you what I'm actually looking at. Let's leave it at that for the minute. When we roll it around, it's probably going to be a little bit different anyways, but the biggest thing now here, if I can get it to show on the camera, is you should be able to see the outer part moving there. That's the spring-loaded part of the timing tension. This should still be loose. Uh-oh. It's a good thing everything's in the right place, because I think we might have just locked it up. Either that or just because it's got lots of tension on it now, but I think we're just about ready to, you sucker. As you can tell, I'm still basically working outside with the door open to be able to have enough light, because there's no power out here still. I think luckily we're in the right place as far as timing goes. I will check the mark one more time here. Yep, looks like we're pretty much bang on there. And we'll check the, where is that coming from? We'll check the camshaft feeler gauges one more time. Oh my goodness. I don't understand how it can change like that. Yeah, we've lost it already. And I don't know if I think the camshaft sprocket might have changed, or might have tightened, so I might not be able to. That's still loose, but I don't know if the taper has locked up. If it has, I won't be able to move the camshaft anymore without turning the whole thing. Alright, so timing belt tensioner is tensioned and torqued. Our crankshaft timing is bang on. Valve timing is as close as we're going to get. We're maybe 1/1000th of an inch off one way or the other. I believe the taper grabbed on me, which means I can't adjust it anymore now anyways, and to try and crack it loose is disturbing the bearing cap and seal and everything again, so we're not going to do that. So all that should be left before we can roll it around is torque the cam sprocket and torque the injection pump sprocket cap screws. And then we can take all the timing tools out and roll it around a couple of times and see what we got. So the camshaft sprocket bolt 16 is 33 foot-pounds. So we'll have to use the big torque wrench for that. And so for injection pump sprocket, we're just going to do stage 1 in case, well, I mean, it's not really in case, because after we've made sure that the valve timing is all correct, then the next step later on, once we got everything back together so that it'll run, is to set the injection timing itself, which you have to have the computer to do. So what we're going to do here for the pump sprocket is the stage 1 torque, which is 15 foot-pounds. So we're going to crank it back up to 180 inch-pounds again. We'll do it 90 first. There we go, okay. So there's our 15 foot-pounds stage 1 torque, so that we can now safely roll the engine around to seat the belt and recheck our timing without worrying about the injection pump being drastically out of time. So our tensioner's torqued, our camshaft sprocket's torqued, our injection pump cap screws are torqued. So this, I'm not going to be able to do it without a tool probably. I should be able to remove this. Oh, maybe. Oh my goodness. Oh, because I'm trying to turn something that won't turn. That's part of the problem too. Okay, so let's take the block on the other end out of there, out of the camshaft. Now I should be able to, and I'll just use the long ratchet on the crank because that's the way we're going to turn the engine over anyways. Oh, God. We should be able to by doing this. There we go. That makes the pin loose, so we'll take the pin out. Alright. Oh, you sucker. Never fails. Never fails. Couldn't just sit there. That would have been just too simple. And so we should be ready to roll it around a couple of times here. Get the belt seated. It would probably be a lot easier for me to be doing this from below, but okay, so some way of figuring out how far I've gone would be good. I guess the dowel peg on the crank sprocket right now is at 8 o'clock position. So we'll take that around until it's gone 24 hours. Oh, helps if I take the car out of gear. That would be useful too. There we go. Let's try this for the third time. Should be getting pretty close. I have to check the... So now we're going to try and line up the crankshaft timing mark again and see then how close it's not going to stay. The rest of the stuff is. Okay. Get in there. Oh, miserable. And of course we can't get it in gear now because it's not quite in the right place. In either case, I guess that's good. Alright, so I don't see the mark in the window at all yet. So we're gonna keep going. I don't think I've gone past it yet. Okay, so I think instead of backing up, I'd rather not back up. We'll just go around again. Wheel is not on the right stroke. So I do have to go another full turn. Right now our camshaft lobes are both pushing on, or maybe not both pushing on, but they're not at 10 and 2 like they should be, so we gotta go around again. Okay, that's gotta be pretty close. Yeah, our lobes are up. I don't see the mark yet. And hopefully I can figure out a way to get the freaking light to sit so that I can actually see what I need to see. Would be great. Alright. Okay. Nice and easy so I don't miss the freaking sucker. There it is. Should be pretty close, I'm thinking. State of use. Looks pretty darn close. Maybe a little bit behind. Let's see if we can get the valve train block in, which we can, which is awesome. And then what about our injection pump pin? Probably not going to be overly nice. Let's try a little bit here and see if I can get this. There we go. Not necessarily happy about it, but it's in. And our block is a little bit snug on the front, which is the opposite of what it was before, but yeah, we're like we're like almost a 1/4 inch past the mark on the crank, but what we should be able to do is back up the crank only, because there's sheerly that much play that we should be able to get close. That'll also make the top better as well. So that's got the crankshaft right on the money. Our timing block is better on the camshaft. I'm not going to bother putting the feeler gauges in, I don't think. I know it's really snug without the feeler gauges, so. And our injection pump pin is tight as heck, but I would say we call that good as far as timing goes. And then the last thing to do with that here is just to check the kind of sit there maybe, is to just check our what you call belt tension or tension. I'm gonna take this let's take the block out of here. We'll take the pin out of the injection pump here. So last thing here quick, let's just check double check the tensioner level, tension, whatever you want to call it. So we did lose some. Before we were halfway exactly on the edge between the last X and the notch. Now we are centered on the last X. So I'm thinking I might want to take that up a little more. Put it back where it was, maybe. Since I don't really have any finite what would you call it? Indication of what it's actually supposed to look like for tensioned. So we're just going to wing it. A little more tension is not going to hurt anything. It is spring loaded anyway, so the spring is what's doing the tensioning, not this. Alright, so I think timing belt is officially done, I hope. Let's get the last camshaft bearing cap on. And then we'll move on to the back side of the engine, or the right hand side, I guess you would say, and get some of the stuff back there ready. I think I've also decided, while we're this far into it, to change the steel coolant pipe. Why they ever thought a steel coolant pipe was a good idea, I don't know. But I got a new one for a pretty good price. And we're this far into it, and the coolant is partially drained, so might as well do that at the same time, because sure enough, then it'll let me down not too long from now, which should be not cool. All right. Yeah, I think for consistency on this particular belt job, I'll put a little bit of RTV on just on the part that's going to matter. So trying to keep the oil in the engine, because this cap has passages to let the oil into the vacuum pump, but it's not supposed to go right out the end, which I guess it would go. Well, maybe it can't. The O-ring for the vacuum pump rides on that outer surface. But yeah, so technically I guess it could technically weep through there. So we'll do a little bit just to try and be consistent. Not a crazy amount that's going to screw up the bearing tolerance drastically. So something like this. I'm going to try to concentrate it towards the outer corners. We don't want it to be restricting these oil passages, and we just don't want it in general all over the place. So that's ready to go on. Get rid of the goop. Shaft bearing cap, the cylinder head. These are 15 foot-pounds again, so that's the 180 inch-pounds with 13 once again. So again, we'll go 90 first. And these ones, actually we'll snug them up first. Alright, and then now we'll do kind of a final torquing on all of these. Okay. That's not going to work, is it? All right.